Okay, look, I wasn't going to do a video about this, but I feel that after all the different videos and all the different commentaries and that people have done about this particular situation with this comedian David Lucas, black comedian David Lucas, that was at that did a stand-up comedy show. I can't exactly remember when because that's pretty much how important I thought this story was. But as upon further review, I decided that I think I would make a commentary on this. David Lucas was heavily criticized by a lot of people in the black community in regards to a stand-up comedy thing that he did in some city somewhere, and I guess he made a joke about George Floyd, or he made some other joke, and somebody y'all showing people why he got a knee on his neck, right? And the black folks that were in the audience actually heckled him or basically told him that they didn't agree with his joke and they were offended. They told him they was offended. They didn't get all ghetto about it, but they expressed their feeling about it. And in a way, I'll be honest with you, from what I saw in the video, then he said he was a fan of Kyle Rittenhouse too. So he kind of, literally more or less took a jab at black people and got a laugh out of the white people in the audience at black people's expense. And that, I think, made, some of the people there were offended by. But see, my issue with this is not the fact that the black people were offended by it, okay? Because even though, I have some more, maybe somewhat conservative views in some ways, but here's the thing. Why does people feel that why do people feel that they get to tell black people what to be offended by and what they shouldn't be offended by? And that's even including black people. Let me just say that from the top, including some of these so-called black conservatives, who, to be honest with you, even though I have some conservative views, I hate to say this, but it's the truth. There's a lot of black conservatives that are some big-time assimilationists. They want to go along to get along, but you know something? They need to stop pandering and actually be about principles sometimes, and not just the principles that are convenient. And in this situation, to be honest with you, I thought it was a bad joke. And you know what? People have a right to be offended by it. Now, mind you, should David Lucas lose his career over it? No. I don't think anybody's suggesting that. Some people might be, but he's not going to. Matter of fact, he's probably going to be elevated, even though he may not even be the best comedian. I never even heard of this guy, number one. But now this is a talking point for conservatives. And I'll tell you something, to be honest with you, with a lot of the white conservatives out here commenting on this, I think this proves the further point of why some black people are offended. Because now these people are jumping up to cape for David Lucas on this joke. Oh, it's just a joke, and he don't really believe. Now, first of all, nobody knows what he really believes. Now, maybe he doesn't believe in it. Okay, he felt compelled to come on Willie D's podcast to talk about the situation. He wouldn't apologize for the joke, but apparently he later on capitulated and did apologize for the joke. And matter of fact, I guess he even talked to some of the people related to George Floyd. Now, mind you, here's the thing. People have a right to be offended by what they want to be offended by. Nobody gets to tell us what to be offended by and what not to be. And I don't care if it's other black people. If people don't like the joke, they don't like the joke. See, the thing is, my issue with this is this. People are trying to play David Lucas out to be a victim. He's no victim. When you're a comedian, you're going to take a chance on telling jokes that people don't like. It just happens. It's happened to everyone. David Lucas is not special in that regard. Okay? So this idea that somehow David Lucas deserves all the sympathy and defense is ridiculous. And I got, folks out here running up to, cape for David Lucas. The man's a grown man. When he did what he did, he felt that he was at liberty to do it. Now, when the consequences come down, that some people are offended, listen, guess what? You don't get to tell people what to spend their money on. They want to walk out and show that every right to. That's the bottom line. If black people don't want to spend money to see David Lucas, they don't have to. But everybody running around telling black folks, hey, guess what? You need to stop being sensitive. You know what that does? That just emboldens people more. Makes people more defiant. Because how dare you tell us what to be offended by and what not to be? And you have every right to say that we shouldn't. You have a right. It's your First Amendment right. We also have a right to respond and say, fuck you. You don't get to tell us what to be offended by and what not to be offended by. Whether you're black, Asian, or any other group, Hispanic, purple, blue, whatever. You don't get to tell us. And the thing is, and this is what I go right back to. You want most of these people who are saying this to black folks, they wouldn't tell Jewish folks this if somebody told a Hitler joke. They wouldn't tell Native Americans this if somebody told a joke about the Sand Creek Massacre. They wouldn't tell, you know what I mean? It's just funny that it's that for all the stuff that people can say about black folks and how, oh, you can't say anything about black people, but yet everybody can. We can tell people what they should be offended by, what they shouldn't be offended by. And it's funny because we shouldn't be offended by nothing, apparently, the way some of the people talk. Like everything's a joke and we should just take it. Just take it. It's quick, everybody's quick to tell us. Guess what? You don't get to tell nobody shit. Bottom line is, listen, does David Lucas deserve to have death threats over this? No. He's not the first comedian to ever get death threats either. So let's stop making it seem like, let's use this. See, what people got to watch out for is to make this look like here's a convenient opportunity to take shots at black people, demonize and villainize black people, and say, here, look, they're trying to be a mob to go after this guy, and this isn't right. Give me a damn break. Okay? It's just convenient in some ways with some people here. Listen, when he went up on Willie D's podcast to explain himself to Willie D, guess what? Do I agree with everything Willie D says? No. But at the end of the day, you know what? He came up there obviously because he felt compelled to explain himself. And you got other people out telling him, oh, you ain't got to explain yourself to those N-words, basically. That's what some people are saying behind the scenes. Y'all can sit there and act like you don't know, but y'all know it. And just as I do. And at the end of the day, guess what? When people demand respect, they demand respect. And at the end of the day, people have a right to not like the joke. It was a bad joke, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion. And it's culturally convenient to not think something's a bad joke when it doesn't hit home. Because at the end of the day, people can say whatever they want to say about George Floyd having a criminal record. Listen, I don't agree that George Floyd should have a statue in his name. So I think that at the end of the day, the Democrats shitlibs did that just so they could, really, to be honest with you, that was an insult. They made a statue of him. Now, did that man deserve to get murdered like that? No. Now, people want to argue about whether he got murdered, but guess what? Toxicology report, matter of fact, the autopsy says that it was homicide. So you don't argue with that. Then you got false reports out there, all that stuff. Look, that man, that police officer had no reason to have his knee on back neck. It wasn't proper procedure. That was proven fact. And second of all, there was other cops standing there. Why was that man able to be restrained when there was 3, 4 other police officers there? Well, you know what? I'm not going to try to let's not re-legislate. Let's not re-litigate that. I'm not going to relitigate that. But here's the reality. David Lucas is a grown man. He's a big boy. Guess what? He can take his shots like everybody else. Maybe he should rethink that it's not just convenient to tell jokes at black people's expense, because it can appear that he was telling that joke at black people's expense to get a laugh from white people, which in essence happened if you watch that video. So the bottom line is this. David Lucas can tell whatever jokes. Nobody forced him to apologize. He felt compelled to. And he didn't have to, but he did anyway. So, you know what? He stood by it. He should have stood by it. He should have stood on. Obviously felt there was too much consequences of career not to. And people will say it's because he got threats. No, it's because at the end of the day, he needs a black audience too. Let's just be honest. Okay? Black people are basically the biggest consumer class in this country. So you think that them not spending money with David Lucas isn't going to hurt? Think again. Now, I personally think that maybe he learned a value lesson from this, and maybe all of us have. But I can tell you right now, the lesson shouldn't be that black folks are just too sensitive, because guess what? That's an easy way, that's an easy cop-out. That's just people coping with the fact that black people actually stood up for themselves and said, no, we're going to walk out. We don't agree with what you said. Those people have every right to. They have every right to ask for their money back. They have every right to walk out. Now, whether they got their money back is a different story. But let's get off this nonsense about that whole, the black folks are too sensitive and all that stuff. Because I'm about tired of that being the narrative. Because the reality of it is, it was a bad joke. Now, is that a fact? That's my opinion. Okay? Yeah, it's not a fact. It's my opinion. That's the opinion of a lot of other people. Not even just black people, other people too. Because at the end of the day, that man was murdered. People say whatever they want. The man was murdered. You can say what you want to say about his criminal record, about him being a bad, quote-unquote, person. That still doesn't justify the police murdering him. I'm just so tired of that narrative where we see somebody black get killed. Okay? That's just like Jordan Neely on the subway. Oh, the man was choked to death. Okay? The man was choked to the point where he defecated on himself. And we want to make an excuse about saying, and the first thing what we want to do is say, well, he wasn't a bad person because he had this record. So in other words, if anybody has a criminal record or they did anything, that means there's free reign for them person to be murdered, right? That means their rights should just be disregarded, right? Well, guess what, people? We either believe in the law or we don't. We leave it for everybody or we don't. To stop being a bunch of hypocrites and actually showing our true colors, so to speak, about who we really are. Let's just deal with that, because if that's the case, we're going to make. Then stop being a bunch of hypocrites. You don't really believe in the law. You really believe in who the people are, and not about what the law says. It's supposed to be a country of laws and not of men. Well, apparently, it's a country of men, because when you look at certain men or certain people that fit a certain description, whether they be criminals or not, if they're not criminals at that point, they still have rights, which means they shouldn't be violated. And if we're going to sit here and play this slippery slope, we're going to say, well, we think he's a bad person, so we don't care that he got murdered. You don't have to care. The law still applies. Okay? And if it doesn't apply for one person, it don't apply for everybody. So let's not play that game, people. Let's not be sanctimonious and act like we actually uphold law and we're law-abiding citizens. Well, guess what? Abide by the law and uphold law for everybody. How about that? Instead of picking and choosing people you think aren't good people for whatever reason. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of times where these cases are made about whether this person did something or not, and because they got charged, but not necessarily convicted. So people just base that on information that gets leaked in order to sway public opinion and say, well, it doesn't matter that this guy got murdered because he was just a problem anyway. Give me a damn break. Man didn't have a weapon on him. Man didn't hurt anybody. But guess what? There's people arguing to say that because Daniel Penny was a former Marine, oh, the country's got his back. We got folks saying that America's got his back. Which America are we talking about, though? Let's just be real. Because the man clearly choked that man to death. People told him, besides the ones that helped him, told him, you got to let go of him. The man, being that he was a former Marine, should know. And then listen, I have some former martial arts training myself. And I can tell you right now, if you choke a man for 6 minutes, because I think it was longer than that, to be honest, but that's what they're saying. Person will be dead after about a good 4 or 5 minutes, big brain dead. So come on, you trying to tell me this guy who's a former Marine didn't know that? And by the look on his face, he didn't care. I got a video that I did previously about that. Look at that picture and look at Daniel Penny's face. And please, someone look at his face now, and then you tell me what you think about how Daniel Penny felt about Jordan Neely's life. But I digress. The point is, David Lucas is a big boy. He'll get past this, but people try and falsely elevate him as some victim or some hero. This is a joke. Okay? He told the joke. It was not well received by everybody. And guess what? If you're going to use, whether that happens to be so-called black conservatives, I'm not going to mention my name, but you know who you are, one in particular, who took it upon themselves to do a video about this, and of course use this as an opportunity to criticize black folks, because you got to pander to his white audience thinking that he's slick, but we know this is what he does because he's got a paradigm of doing this. But again, David Lucas, he may or may not bounce back from this, but I can tell you right now, if he don't, it's because he's probably not a good comedian. He's probably not that good. That might be the case. Because hell, that's the case that everybody tried to make about Colin Kaepernick, remember? But it's but the funny part about it is when the Miami Dolphins decided they would get Jay Cutler on that team, drunk Jay Cutler, and they had no problem using him as a backup, which personally, Colin Kaepernick was still better than him. You know what? Nobody had anything to say about it, right? See how we like to pick and choose sometimes? But anyway, that's all I got to say about this. But yeah, my point is, guess what? David Lucas made his bed. He's got to lie in it. Does he deserve to lose his life? No, but that's not the whole focus here. The principle of the fact is that guess what? People got offended. They walked out. They had a right to. They had a right to ask for the money back, whether they received it back or not. And I'm sorry. I have I object to this idea that these people are wrong. Because you know what? People can't hide behind being a comedian all the time. That's the same point that I made, because I'm going to bring this up again, about the video I did about Bill Maher. You can't hide behind being a comedian all the time. Because the fact of the matter is, when you're being serious about it and people know it, they have a right to respond. If you're putting out misinformation, people have a right to respond. You being a comedian does not make you exempt from criticism. And that's that simple. And David Lucas is no different. I'm out.